Hello there, my name is Klaus Rostel, and I'm doing 100 innovation keynotes in 100 days. Today is number 52, and today is a little bit of a technical talk. I think that's the way to do it. Because as I do these keynotes, and I'm now at number 52, I get a lot of people along for the ride, which is really nice, and I get a lot of comments and suggestions, that sort of thing. But one thing that I get consistently is technical questions about how do I actually make this work? Now, there are tons of people out there who make better tutorials and who know what they're doing, and they can talk to you about light and camera setup and editing and virtual cameras and all that sort of stuff. That's great. I love that. I check out some of that myself. But since I've been asked this a lot, I'm actually going to answer it and ignore that there are many people who are better than me at this, or who are better than me at this. Thank you for that. They're probably also better at speaking. So with no further ado, I'm going to disappear off the camera and I'm going to walk you through the setup and what's going on and a couple of tricks, that sort of thing. So the first thing is, what you see here is not actually a gray background. It is, let's see if we can get it on screen. Aha, it's a green screen. So here, this is my hand in front of the green screen. And you can also see this is my hand in front of the screen pretending to be dark. Now, with the software I use, it's called MMHMM. I kid you not, it's called It means I can change around the room I'm in. So I can have this instead. I can have my McKinsey background. I can have the College of Extraordinary Experiences. I can even use the flashy McKinsey thing that does like this. Ooh, very nice. Or the Informa thing, or there's all sorts of like pre-recorded stuff available, and then there's the things that I input on my own. So there's the green screen, and this is if it takes up full screen. Then there's like it's an almost one-to-one. You can see, because now it's the screen pretending to be green. Now, as you can see with this, it's pretty rumpled. A really good green screen is not. How do we have it here? A really good green screen is not rumpled like this. So things like stretching this out, it doesn't make a huge difference, but it does make a difference. For example, if I take here, let's see here, then you can see some places where if I just stretch this out, you can see in the upper left corner, there's movement. Now this, having a physical screen that is actually, in my case, it's actually not a screen, but it's something that hangs from the wall, allows me to do all sorts of tricks. So I can do this and kind of lift it up, and I can show you what's behind. Not exactly a pretty sight, but it also means I can disappear. I can kind of take stuff. I can say, oh, who do we have here? Oh, it's Totoro. So much for Totoro. So that gives me some options. And I have a pretty small office space. I mean, it's a nice space, but it's not super big, and it doesn't have a good ceiling height. So there's lots of tricks I can't pull off simply due to my physical space. However, I'm now going to show you, here is the camera. So this is now, I'm taking my secondary camera, and here is the camera. It's my iPhone. I'm using that to film on. You can also see now, here's the other camera filming the iPhone. It gets confusing. Here's the microphone setup, my Yeti Blue microphone, which I'm very happy with. Ring light number 1, ring light number 2, can be turned up, turned down, very nice. Here's the Mac, here's the setup, which now looks a little bit messy. There's my presenter screen, which I use for, now we're seeing me again. Could just turn this around. Now it gets really complex, right? So the presenter screen, what I do with that is I put on, if I'm running a presentation, then I will put this up there, and then I will show it as slides. So that'll be, instead of filming the second camera, I'll just share that screen. So right now I'm actually filming the screen, which is less elegant, but I could just share it. For example, let's see if we can do that. Let's see here. No, not there. Here, there's a grizzly bear. I'm now still here. Ooh. And a nice thing I can do again with the software is I can make my hand smaller. I can kind of move it around. I can move elements around. So I can kind of have this. Now with the Grizzly, it's not a super impressive effect, but I'm sure I could come up with something where it's fun. And then there's all sorts of weird tools. For example, there's this spotlight thing where you can kind of, we can put Totoro in the spotlight here. Hello, Totoro. And we can move him around. Ooh. There's all sorts of strange effects if you want him pixelated for some reason, or old movie reel. All this sort of stuff that's now kind of part of the package with many programs. I mean, if you've done FaceTime with somebody or been on any sort of video conferencing software, there's all sorts of stuff out here. Okay, but back to the interesting part, which is using kind of a multi-camera setup. So here's one camera, the other camera is set up here and is right now, has me in it. I'm now suddenly smaller, and up here I have this one. So I could do this, and then you see me from one angle and from the other. So if I do here, I'm pointing at that camera, I'm pointing at this camera. Now, I don't really have a setup with two cameras that way, because most of my talks are given like pointing at this camera, blah, blah, and I use the space up here. I use that for slides, but I could, if I didn't want to do that, and if I spent a little bit more time on editing, that sort of thing, then I could have a two-camera setup saying, well, we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and then I could edit in slides, or I could have slides in the background. So right now I could replace the picture of the castle with the slides, and then I could have camera 1 here, hello camera 1, and I could have camera 2 there, hello camera 2, giving me a little bit more options for how to present things or how to do stuff. Now, moment we're just going to go away from this camera and instead, see, it's gone. As you can see, I work with minimal space and have some really handheld solutions. One of them is this pink thing that is holding my screen here. This thing that is holding my green screen taut or semi-taut. And this is one of those like $5, I'm just going to show you what it is. It's one of these $5 thingies. And it's not meant for this, but it does the job. And of course, I have a dream. I'm just going to point so you can hear. Of course, I have a dream of at some point having a nice setup where things aren't messy and kind of all over the place. But here, I just barely manage. You can see here that it's too far that way. Here, there's the ceiling. I could pan a little bit down here, but... So, I have it set up, and I kind of make the most of my space, even though there's not a lot of it. Now, if we go back to this camera for a moment, right now it's filming me. This is the one I have set up. I'm just going to move stuff around so you'll see my normal kind of meeting setup. If I'm not doing a presentation, but I'm just doing a meeting, then I use this camera. And I'm just going to remove this. And I now have this set up here. Now, this camera is showing what it looks like. Okay, it gets a little bit tricky with the green screen thing. Let's just take that off. Oh, here we are. This is showing. I'm just going to switch around which camera is the primary one, because things can get a little bit interesting, to put it mildly. Okay, I can't change the camera, so we'll have to make do with things as they are. I apparently messed up something. That happens all the time. So this is showing from that camera. Hello, epoch camera. And we're just gonna, can we take this guy away? Okay, so this is the main camera now. Woohoo. And that's coming from not this camera, which I try to use. That's here. Okay, so now things are a complete and utter mess. So we're going to move this just to keep going. And here. So I have my setup here with this background. This is my meeting background. So if I'm just having a meeting, I'm not doing a presentation, then I kind of push back the light a little bit so it's out of the way, or turn it down, or zoom in a little. I can zoom in a little bit more. Oh, not there. And that will work. especially if I'm not messing up the technical stuff. And I'm doing this, I know I could do this with all sorts of slick stuff and editing and yada yada, but I'd rather have you see how things actually work. Because when I'm trying to innovate on my setup, a lot of it is this trial and error stuff, and a lot of it is not, it's not glamorous, it doesn't work super well, but it does get me some places. So with that said, then here's another trick that I got from a friend, which is very, very simple actually, which is, and I actually think when I think of it as my brother, David, who I saw this from the first time. So you take sorry for that. Pants are optional at this place. That was not part of the plan, but I'll just roll in here. So here is now a camera pointing downwards. Da-da. That means I can put stuff here. I can put, for example, cards here. We can have Totoro come back. Hello, I'm Totoro. Hello, hello. We can put things. I can use this to illustrate stuff. Now, if I use this to show you the setup, you'll see there is a row of books. And on that row of books is the camera placed. But this gives some pretty nifty opportunities, because then I can take here and I can switch between, okay, this is a complete mess, so we'll just kind of set that somewhere else. So you can at least see, here am I. Hello, camera one. So I can say hello, and all of you lovely people, I'm showing you the backstage tour. Things are a bit chaotic, but that's how life is, so why pretend it's not? But we're now going over to camera two and a bit of chocolate. And here is camera two. So I could say, okay, let's make this big. So now you're kind of following along here. Things are happening. And then I say, okay, let's move to this instead. And then we take, voila, here. Now, with a little bit of coordination, a little bit of testing, this is what I do between talks. So when I'm actually talking about something, it seems a little bit smoother than this, but I just got the new upgrade for the program, and I'm experimenting with some stuff. But having access to a camera where you can kind of move stuff around with your hand, you can take Post-its, you can write stuff on them, you can show things kind of close up. Ooh, mulberry, very nice. A gift from some sweet Estonian school leaders. Very nice. From a workshop. And that means that this camera can be used not just as a, just gonna move it here, not just as kind of a roaming, showing off things, or as my regular setup for meetings, which is what I normally use it for, but also with a little bit of moving around. I can show you, or I can use it to kind of give you this use the table view, which I did. Now, before I mess things up further, I'm going to round this off because it's already gotten long and rambly long ago. A couple of tips. One, this is a clicker. Using a clicker together with slides is very, very nice because it allows you to walk around. It allows you to kind of click, duck, 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 instead of sitting at the keyboard pressing things. So it's a more elegant way of doing that. Second thing is the green screen. Green screen, green screen, green screen. I mean, right now you see it when it's kind of folded up here. Even minimal space, and this cost me not nothing, but not a lot. Green screen. If you can get a green screen, I dream of having a space where I just had a little bit higher ceilings. I have these like diagonal ones, diagonal ones, and I dream of having a kind of just a square room where I could maybe just use a wall or buy one of these that you can just set them up. They don't cost that much, and then you have a nice green screen that kind of reaches around you. I don't have that because I don't have that space, but what I can do is I have this nice setup behind me which I can decorate with all sorts of stuff. I can even, when I go really wild, I can tailor what's on the shelves to the meeting. So if I'm meeting with people from the shipping industry, I might put up my Lego mask ship as an example. I could put up some trophies or some pictures from something, or something that kind of works with whatever meeting or whatever presentation I'm giving, because it gives me this option. So that's a physical space I can use for decorating the digital space. The second is the green screen gives a lot of options, cheap price. Even a crappy version like I have, which is cheap and dirty, gives a decent result. Not a top pro result, but a decent result. Now, I don't know why I can't shift from this camera. I usually can shift between my cameras, but I think there's some sort of thing amiss at the moment, or there's something in the new upgrade. So you're going to have to live with a little bit messy setup here. Such is life. The lights, really nice to have. They take up some space, yes, but they're nice, of course. Have a good microphone so that even when you mess things up and forget to move it around or place it properly in front of you, then you can still get at least decent sound, because that matters a lot. Now, all of this is, of course, just what I use. And the reason I made this keynote, let's just call it a backstage keynote, isn't because, again, that I think that I'm the best to convey this sort of information. Really, there are many more who do better videos on this with more kind of looking more into what it can do, technical aspects. They're much more thorough, they're more engaging, yada, yada, yada. But I do it because I've been asked to do this and to share some tips and some tricks and kind of some hard-fought experiences on what I do. And I think part of that is one of the reasons that there's so many who are afraid of innovating on their technical setup. I see so many people who've been working for a year now. They've been digital meeting for a year. They do meetings, they do presentations, they do webinars, they do all sorts of stuff where improving on their setup would really make a difference, even just a little bit of improvement, and still they don't. Still they're fumbling around with bad lighting, or as the case, as you can see, the lighting is going a little bit like because the lamp I have up there is not good for presentations. Normally I have it turned off and I use a different one. Of course, this time, did I remember? No. But just so that sort of thing can get annoying, and it's so easy to experiment with this stuff. Figure out which camera I'm looking at there. It's so easy to experiment with this stuff. It's so easy to get just a little bit of upgrade. And maybe it's scary to watch these pro guys, these amazing women who show off like, okay, you can use this angle or this or whatever. These people out there who really do this and are passionate and are good at explaining. Sometimes it's easier watching one of your friends or somebody you're in a network with who is really bad at it, but can still provide a little bit of extra spice for your digital life. So that's why, even though I know there are some of you who will write me and say, Klaus, that was the worst video ever. I know, yeah, but it's not for you. It's for those of you who are like, this is what is the difference between me clicking one of these backstage things, maybe learning a trick or two, and me not doing it even though the information's there. And therein lies an innovation point. Ooh, elegant tie-in. Not so elegant, but at least a tie-in. And that is that it's very, very tempting to think that when you need new information, when you need new skills, new concepts, new whatever, you should go for the people who are the best to deliver it. But often that's not the case. An old friend of mine, Finnish wonderful man, Jaakko Steenros, said many years ago when he was working as a personnel trainer for IT companies and the like, and we talked about his job, and he said, you should always appear and be dressed a little bit better than the client, but not too much. And I found that pretty good advice. I haven't really practiced that myself in the dressing department, but I found it kind of a very nice and insightful truth that sometimes it's easier to learn from somebody who's just above your level rather than people who are all the way up here, because just learning from them makes you feel more stupid, where learning from people who are here, if you're here, makes you think, I can do that. And that is true when it comes to technical setups. It's true when it comes to innovation in general. And it's true about many aspects of life. With that, something plinged. Of course, I forgot to shut down my LinkedIn, so it just made a pling. And with that, I'm going to say thank you for following me through this 19-minute ramble from backstage. Thank you.